easy. You get a little bit friendly with your co-driver, don't you, with the throttle, because the throttle's in a weird place and you've got to watch your feet with the steering wheel, haven't you? It crushes your foot if you don't put it in the right place. So it's good to see two of you. John Deere, from about 1920, came out with a load of tractors called Waterloo Boys and Model Ds and A's. They also bought the Lance Tractor Company out in the mid-50s, and so they moved over to Germany. This one's a German spec John Deere 2130. The 10 series came out in about 1960, and then the 20 series came out in about 64, 65, and then they kept increasing the horsepower. They moved the fuel tanks around so it's over the front axle. Again, totally original. It's nice to see an original. One of the best-selling tractors, well, is the best-selling tractor company since 2002, John Deere, I think. They've had no real major issues other than gearbox issues with oil. It's nice to see another original John Deere. The only tractor company I can think of what stayed with the same tractor colours, always in the green and the yellow. It was about wheat. They make a lot of wheat in America. So green was the growing time, yellow was the harvest time. That was the original colour scheme on those. Looks like it's had a cab on it at one stage. First of all, the series, 3-speed gearbox. Quite unusual driving one of these because your clutch pedal's on the wrong side. Everybody else's clutch is on the left. On the 27 it's on your right, so jumping from one tractor to the other takes a little bit of use to doing it. Hand start, no electrics on this. You've either got to be very tall or very small with these, because I seem to be in the wrong position to swing in one of those. Hopefully she'll start up. It's got the Swift single lever hydraulic system on it. They had different speed ratios on the gearboxes of these. My wife remembered telling me that uphill you're okay, because all the oil goes to the flywheel to be picked up. But if you're going downhill for a long time, all the oil goes to the front of the sump and it dries itself out, doesn't it? There's no oil lubrication, it's just splash. It's good to see a little 27. First of all, BMB President, made up in Southport, near Blackpool. Little calometer on the front, that's your temperature gauge. As soon as it goes from your red to your green, you can switch it over to petrol paraffin. A little Morris industrial engine in this, 4-cylinder side valve little engine. Birds along lovely. These were unfortunately up against the little grey Fergie Menace, weren't they? So they didn't really have the hydraulic system, unfortunately, as the Fergie system. But horticultural wise, perfect little tractor. You can see all the way around. A row crop tractor, the driver can see all four wheels quite easy. Yeah, it's good runners, that. Back to early Fordson 2000. The 2000 was the Dexta, the 3000 was the Super Dexta, the 4000 was the Major, the 5000 was the Super Major. This particular one's got what I call the Spitfire bonnet on it, where over in the States they were still using a lot of petrol engines. So they needed to get rid of the heat out the engine, so that's why you've got your louver little signs down the side, usually painted in grey, just to denote it's an early tractor. Yeah, it runs along quite sweetly. The 2, 3 and 4 were all 3-cylinder engines, the 5 was the actual 4-cylinder engine. So the best seller was the 4000 engine. Nice little cab on the top. It's just keeping that rain off the driver for, if you sat in it for 6 to 10 hours a day, you don't really want to be out in the wet weather what we had 2 weeks ago. You don't see many Massey Ferguson 130s. They're an 8-speed gearbox. Lovely to drive on the road. You've got a 30 horsepower little Perkins engine in there, made over in Beauvais in France from 1964 onwards. Got the brakes aren't the best on these as well. They're a little bit. You've got to be on the ball with your brakes. But a lovely track to get on and off. A lot was built over in France for the vineyards and all the nice small little hamlet farms what they've got over there. Getting all the bits is quite easy as well now. Masses are getting into the helping out our vintage side of it. Basically a modern grey Fergie which is following on behind. A straight little petrol, little 6-volt. Got the very early filled in wheel centres. There's a man over there who's got the back wheel centres which are filled in. You could do with swapping him, couldn't you? Because you've got an early tractor, straight petrol, with the early front tyres and wheels, and then you could do with his filled in back wheel centres. See if he'll swap them over. You could have a spanner on a grey Fergie which would undo 70% of your tractor. It was either a open-ended, double-ended spanner, and that was for ploughing as well. Nice little tractor, the grey Fergies. Back to a very early little FE35. It's badged up and painted in the Massey colours. You're trying to catch me out, I know you're trying to catch me out. If you notice on the side it says Massey Harris Ferguson, plus the badge on the front gives it away for me. It's got no little triangle on the front. People paint them up in all sorts of weird and wonderful colours. Came out about 1956-57 after the success of the Grey 20. It's got the 23C engine which stood for 2.3 litre indirect injection compression ignition engine. Once you've got these running, you've got a good little tractor. It's got to have a good battery on these and be able to count to 30, then give it another 10 seconds extra to start, and if you can get it up and running, they're a quiet runner. Same engine as they put in the black taxis, London taxis, that's what was in those. The little 4-cylinder standard motors engine. It's a deluxe version because it's got a tachometer on the dashboard and a cushion seat, which when you sat on it for 10 hours, you need that little bit of cushioning, don't you? Got a little Fergie transport box on the back. Good to see that. Back to our slightly later Ford 3000s. If you notice, they've gone into the new colour scheme, the worldwide colour scheme. 8-speed gearbox, high and low. So again, a modern classic, as they say now in the 60s. This came out as a square engine, they call these. Instead of you having a long stroke engine width, so it didn't move the piston as much. They tried to make it so it didn't wear the parts out as quick. Some have got a selector speed and some are, which is like an automatic version. Every time you wanted to go a little bit faster, you move the gear lever up and off you used to chuck. Nicely turned out that. You did a good job on that. Nice to see a lady driver as well. Tractors aren't just for agriculture. They need them for, I don't know, cutting the grass at the school play field, hedge cutting, anything like that. But you've got to have a road version, if you like, up to road spec. So you've got to have an extra handbrake, lever, twin braking system. This has got the hydraulic system braking as well, so you've got a hydraulic braking as well as manual braking. Again, you've got to have the full lighting kit, hot throttle, and the throttle is different, and the horn. That's it, wasn't it? That was the full lighting kit. That would have been cutting school fields or hedgerowing or gritting at one stage. Back to his little grey Fergies, little Fergie diesel. The 500,000th grey Fergie is in Coventry Transport Museum. They kept that was the Fergie diesel. Like I say, they made 517,000 in these, and it's the standard Freeman Saunders engine, who made boats down in Cornwall, isn't it? Again, you've just got to get them up and running. First of our power majors, which has been tweaked a little bit. A normal major, you're talking 40 to 50 horsepower, which has got the 4-cylinder diesel engine, direct injection. If you had an old Ford cargo lorry and you took the 6D engine out of that and then slid it into a power major, the bell housing bolts are exactly the same. You've got a much more powerful tractor, 100 horsepower say. Quite quick on the road, but again it's keeping it on the road. Once you start bouncing, you're all over the place. It's good conversion, that. Counties are having a celebration this year. It's 90 years. Now if this man does full left and full right, very good at pulling in a straight direction, but it's literally, the steering lock's not the best. But the reason why, it's transmitting power from the back axle through 2 prop shafts to the front differentials, which were actually Ford Dexta front, well, crown wheel and pinion off the Dexta. That's how they worked it all out. A Super 6, about 112 horsepower, 6-cylinder, 4-wheel drive, forestry tractor, got a 5-glass cab on it. Nice to see original. 90 years of county this year. Hasn't got any hydraulics on it, it's just literally a pull tractor that for forestry work. Another 6-cylinder conversion in the major. The usual engine's 3.6 litre 4-cylinder, They were very clever Ford. They made the same engine do a petrol paraffin, petrol or diesel, and you just literally change the cylinder head and all your pistons and liners inside. The petrol version was 3.3 litre, the diesels were 3.6. This has got the slightly bigger, say 100 horsepower lorry engine in it. They did do some conversions as a trial, but they never went into production. Be quick on the road this, with a nice modern cab on it, so it saves getting wet going home. Do you drive it on the road? You drive it on the road about 15, 20 mile an hour, maybe a little bit faster. Nice to see that, good conversion. And then if you really want to put another lorry engine in it, so you've gone from 40, 50 to about 160, 180 horsepower, something like that. Got a big turbo, I think, on this one, if I remember rightly. Yeah, big turbo on the side. No doubt he's tweaked the injection pump. Some are nitrous injection, some are water injection, just to get that extra horsepower. The gearbox can cope with it quite easy. Tractor pullers can whack up to about 300-400 horsepower before it starts taking half shafts and splines off your input shafts and stuff like that. It runs, and the conversion plate you've done on that is good. So that's a Cummins, Cummins engine? 6 PT Cummins engine in that, so that's, yeah, that will really rock and roll. I like your suspension dampener on the steering to stop it wobbling when you get a bit of speed up. Back to his little grey Fergies, and then on little straight petrol, purring along lovely. 4-speed gearbox, once it's landed he'll be alright. Try to keep all 4 wheels on the floor, that's that grey bit and greeny bit here. 4-speed gearbox and reverse, but it's the Fergie system. Imagine it's like a snap-on toolkit. You've got your ratchet is your tractor, and without good sockets and implements and different attachments, it was no good. So Harry Ferguson, like I say, came out with 120 different implements and attachments, and it's never been beaten, to be honest. Paul Rackham had a massive sale 4 or 5 years ago, and he had, I'd say, 100 implements all stacked in one museum. It was a shame that had to be split up, but made from Harry Ferguson, who were an Irish inventor, and mug spreader on the back. Chain company started making their own diesel engines from about 1927, something like that, and was one of the first tractor manufacturers to make 4-wheel drive over in Italy. I think the Buffalo came out about 75, 76, 130 horsepower, air-cooled a lot of these. A lot were 1, 2, 3 and 4 cylinder, so you've got no water pump, no radiator, no water to freeze up in cold weather. Literally, air cools all the cylinder head. Quite desirable these now, and getting hold of the bits is quite easy as well. They're getting easier to restore. Fur's long, lovely. I'm amazed they've not got you on the water cart job, because that's what I usually get involved with. Yeah, nice tractor that. You don't see many Sammies around. It's a good tractor to have that, and it looks solid. It's had a careful life, looks like it's been undercover majority of its life. It's not gone white. They usually go quite white. How long have you had this? About 18 months he's had this, and have you had to do a lot to it? No, just original. Hey, it looks tidy that, no oil leaks. It runs a treat. Back to his little grey Fergies. I'm just trying to think of who's the cab on this. It's a Fergie diesel, made from 1951. Who made these cabs? I forgot who made these cabs. Aviation Scotland.